Hey there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. Welcome to another episode of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. AfterBuzz After Show. Tonight we are talking about Season 3, Episode 20, Emancipation. Also, I don't think Hive knows what that word means. We're going to break down the episode for you, as well as giving you a spoiler Civil War review. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome back, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. We all survived the Civil War. We are here tonight.
How did we do?
We survived. How are you all doing tonight?
I'm still recovering from that showing. It was so late.
Yeah, Civil War was so much fun.
It was so late. We didn't even get home until I didn't even get into bed until 3 a.m. and I was still up thinking about it.
Same.
And then this episode continued the amazingness.
Yeah.
It really did. So let me go ahead and introduce my fantastic panel, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of how this breakdown episode is going to work. To my left, Jesse Klein.
Hi everyone, how's it going? I'm Jesse Klein. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1.
Zach Wilson.
Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at that Zach Wilson.
Joyce Ajouri.
Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Ajouri.
And I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. We are also going to be following along with the hashtag ABTVMarvel, as well as keeping an eye on the live chat. So if you guys have something to say about this episode, please feel free to let us know. We are going to go ahead and start this breakdown by saying we are going to do our best to refrain from major spoilers of Civil War until we get to our proper review at the end of the show. However, this episode very much dealt with the ramifications of Civil War, much more than any of us were anticipating. So, general spoiler warning anyway. Proceed at your own risk. Yeah. If you feel like there's any chance you're going to get spoiled for anything, go watch Civil War and come back to us. We will be here for you when you get back, and we will be more than happy to gush with you all over again.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
all in all, guys, now that, again, we survived the weekend, we survived getting home at 3 a.m., and coming into this episode, they're dealing with a lot of the ramifications, and I feel like they handled this really well, dealing with the ramifications of Civil War without giving away a play-by-play of what happened in the movie, while also still going into the nitty-gritty of the Sokovia Accords in a way that the movie didn't necessarily touch on. I want to know, how did you guys feel about that, just since that was literally the first 30 seconds of the episode?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was extremely surprised that there was so much Civil War tie-in, and that it makes sense to have this tie-in, to have Coulson to kind of have to deal with the ATCU and the military. It kind of feels what they've been building up. I thought this was going to be a bigger story than it has been in the show, but still, it was satisfying to see those Sokovia Accords kind of come in and like the dealing with the registration with the Inhumans and stuff like that.
And I feel like a lot of what we watched in Civil War, like we were prepped for through S.H.I.E.L.D. because they sort of mirrored similar issues and like, you know, similar things that we saw in the movie, which was cool.
Yeah, I feel like
just carried over very well.
I feel like the ideological debates that were going on in this episode is the show finally verbalizing the things that we've been talking about for like 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
How about you, Zach?
Sorry, just doing some tech stuff.
I know you're multitasking, trying to keep an eye on the live chat.
Sorry,
Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
Just sorry, keep going.
But yeah, so there's a ton of stuff, and I loved the Agent Carter callback. And it is a shame that first, like, again, 30 seconds of the episode, it did spoil the fact that Peggy Carter's dead.
Yeah.
Because I had just finished mourning, and then it just ripped the Band-Aid right off all over again.
I know.
But I
That's
really,
true.
I did appreciate this underground, like, callback of this SSR base that, like, nobody at S.H.I.E.L.D. knows about, with the exception of Coulson and a handful of other people. It was a nice little callback.
It was.
Also, it's my dream to have a secret lair underneath a bar. Is that wrong?
I mean, that was really
so cool. I was like, are they gonna fly? What's gonna happen now? No, they went underground.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It was such a classic like S.H.I.E.L.D. thing too, with like the diner.
It's like, of course you would have that ready and roaring to go.
Again, #life goals. But yeah, so Coulson has decided to go ahead and bring in Talbot. Basically in on everything, although kind of slowly. This is one of the things that really highlights this as a spy show. It's like, I'm gonna bring you in and like tell you everything so that we're all on the same page, while also withholding a significant piece of information from you. And then Talbot goes, well, I was hiding this piece of information from you, and they're like, we counted on that. It's just such a great like spy back and forth thing to do.
I mean, I think the only reason why they brought Coulson in under that guise was to bring Talbot in was to like give legitimacy to the shell game they were playing with Daisy. Like, I think it was because they knew that Lincoln would never act this way and react this way if it wasn't for Talbot being there.
If there wasn't some inciting incident.
And so, like, I think the only reason why they even were like, yeah, let's just tell Talbot everything was so that they could play this game against Daisy.
It was a good gig. I wasn't expecting that. It was a pleasant surprise to know that, like, as much as Lincoln really wanted to like see her and go and be the one to like help her and save her, it was good to see that he played along with S.H.I.E.L.D. and with Coulson and all of them. And now I feel like this is the time that him and Coulson are going to have like a better relationship. And he'll be more trusted.
Well, and it's through Talbot that, again, we get basically the vessel for this ideological discussion about the Sokovia Accord, and more specifically about the articles talking about enhanced human registration, which is not necessarily something that the movie touched on. The movie more focused on what the Avengers as an organization should and should not be doing. This article in that giant stack of a book does involve the Superhero Registration Act, or at least some form of it.
Well, that's the big difference, is because like on S.H.I.E.L.D. we actually have issues where the Superhuman Registration Act from the books would be relevant.
Exactly.
In the wider MCU, literally only Daredevil and Spider-Man would have to even worry about it.
Yeah. Because there are no like secret identities in it. It's like everyone knows who, like
Romanoff is.
Everybody knows who the Punisher is.
Everyone knows who the Punisher is.
Yeah, it's literally everybody.
Yeah.
But like what I love about the way that they did this is they took the Avengers, dealt with, without no spoilers, dealt with the direct effect of the Accords on those 12 or like 10 to 12 people. It dealt with how it affected them. But the Sokovia Accords are going to have a much wider effect across the world, because this isn't just, there aren't just the Avengers that it's going to affect. And that giant book of the Accords is clearly going to cover other issues, like basically any superhuman people, any enhanced that are out there in the world are going to be covered by this. And what they do is clearly going to now come under the jurisdiction of the UN. And I love that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to give us how that affects the outside world, because it's going to take what we saw in the movie and build on it. Yeah.
And
which I think is the best way to treat the MCU, because I feel like I know a lot of fans out there, and I felt the same frustration, where it feels like this season was kind of a step back as far as S.H.I.E.L.D. feeling like it was part of the MCU. There wasn't a lot of crossover. There wasn't even a lot of talk what was going on in the movies or anything like that. And it was kind of frustrating. So finally getting that back and getting that payoff, getting the universe to feel big again, is going to be really exciting for the near future.
And just from the perspective of just S.H.I.E.L.D. as it just a self-contained thing, this is the thing that Jia-Ying feared. I mean, with the exception of Hive, she clearly feared that. But being all of the Inhumans being indexed and everybody being put on a list and being held to the whim of the world governments, whether that's the UN, whether that's the United States government, whether that was S.H.I.E.L.D., that's the thing that Jia-Ying feared. And even though she was wrong and towards the end crazy, there is a legitimacy there, and Coulson has even come to see the value of at least secrecy, or at least the freedom to not have to be forced to register. And he quotes Captain America, as you pointed out, "Nothing good ever comes from putting people on lists," which is what I've been saying for like the entire season.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Anytime we would talk about the Civil War or the Superhero Registration Act, I do not like it at all.
But it is what Talbot brings up is that there are benefits that you get if you were to register with the ATCU or with the government or the UN, because he talks about like Lincoln, what they can do, because he's dealing with all kinds of like, look, Lincoln has been had the benefit of training with Jiaying and everyone in Afterlife, but not especially the Inhumans who don't know what an Inhuman is or why this is happening to them. They're like, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to help my skin quality and take this fish oil. And then, oh no,
my arms are snakes.
Yeah. Oh no, I am a large dog now.
Oh, no.
What do I do?
I'm a door.
But this is the thing that's great, is that like that they're playing both sides, because what Talbot is offering is, you come to us, we can do an analysis on what's happening to you, we can figure out what your power set is, so that for their benefit they get to know exactly how dangerous you are, and like they can build countermeasures.
I'm okay with that.
Which is why voluntary registration is a great idea.
Because then when the other thing
registration is a terrible idea.
The other thing he offers on top of that is, we can also try to find ways to make you healthier in light of these changes.
Yeah, again, voluntary registration, good thing, great thing. I'm sure they have a great health plan. But the problem comes to be when you force everyone to register based on this thing that they can't control.
And I mean, even voluntary registration comes with the issue that currently your main enemy is someone who wants to know where all of the Inhumans are, and until the end of this episode had the best hacker in the world with them, and could easily hack into that list and get all of the information on where all of the Inhumans were and what specifically their powers were. And now you've given your enemy all of the information.
And I maintain that if they were to create a list and keep that within the confines of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the U.S. government or wherever they wanted to keep it, that no matter what, as long as that list exists, people like the Watchdogs or people like Hydra, who will undoubtedly rear their ugly heads again in some way, shape, or form eventually, will find a way to get a hold of it and use it to their advantage. And that's where the abuse comes in, especially if you force people to register. And that's not even getting into the nitty-gritty of being at the Avengers being at the whims of the UN. That's not even getting into that stuff. But we don't have time to sort of get into that. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on between Coulson and Talbot? Because there was a lot of good stuff, like not only with the ideological talk that they had going on, but also just the politics of like, well, how are we even going to be able to deal with this problem?
I mean, I like that Talbot calls him Lash Rasta Hulk.
Oh my God. That was awesome.
That was super
That was
special.
so awesome.
Makes the weird character design all worth
just
it.
all worth it to hear Rasta Hulk.
I was going to say they were building up to that joke.
Also, the Secret Warriors name drop, where it's like some warriors need to be in secret.
Yeah.
I also
It
liked
was even more than that. It was like, it wasn't even that. It was literally, some battles need to be fought with secret warriors.
I also was waiting for Lincoln
TM.
to burn that mustache off, to shock the mustache off of Talbot.
Yeah.
I loved, how are you so calm anyway? I'm getting used to this sort of thing.
Yeah, there's just like, even at the top of the episode, when you just see Coulson at the bar, there's just this fatigue over him.
He's like, oh, here we go again.
Well, let's not forget, like, Coulson is like battled Loki.
Well, battled Loki, and he's also Captain America's biggest fan.
He's also been brought back to life.
And we actually learned that the leg breaking is a shoot. It's not kayfabe. It's the actor himself Clark Gregg has a broken leg.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't know that.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that either.
We learned
Jeez.
that waiting in line at Civil War.
What
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah.
What-
One of the
what
other
did he-
fans tells I'm not here, but I don't even know how it happened, but he broke his leg because like things happen to
I
people.
love it when things
Yes.
like that make their way into the show and it just becomes trivia and it's like, oh yeah, she's pregnant, so she's actually pregnant in the show. Or yeah, oh he actually broke his leg, so his leg is broken in the show. Like,
Yeah.
I
Jeez,
love when that
I'm
happens.
Here I am thinking that it's just good acting, but no, that's just Clark Gregg going, my leg is
He's like
broken and I'm
wincing in
at work.
pain.
You're right, Megan. Clark Gregg's a terrible actor. We all agree. You said it first, and we all agree. You're
Yep,
right.
it's out there. It's on the internet. Quote me. Quote me on that.
We're kidding. We love
I know you
Clark.
don't believe that. Clark Gregg is awesome.
Clark Gregg is great.
Fantasy Stats Guru also just reminded me of like another amazing line from Talbot. Who names these?
Yeah, I know.
Hive, Lash.
So if Hive and Lash are fighting, then why are they named these things?
I will say one more thing I would like to point out on the Talbot side of things is that even to sort of take Hive out, he would have to lie to the powers that be in order for that weapon to be launched. So even he would have to break the Sokovia Accord to
Yeah.
deal with this safety issue, proving just how ineffectual they are.
Because if he said the devil is there and we need to stop them, that would probably take months for the UN to go through that information.
I love that
And-
he was like, so demon possessed Grant Wolf. no, not
and they're
a
like,
demon.
they're like, it's so much more complicated. But yes, Squid Demon possessed Grant Wolf.
Not really the devil, but like the
But
devil's
basically
kind
the
of
devil.
based on him. So like
for the purposes of this,
He's like the hipster devil. He was Satan before it was cool.
and he's got a trench coat.
There you go, and that weird turtleneck. Anyway, we should probably go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and talk about Daisy and Lincoln in this episode, because the whole long con of the episode is this whole elaborate escape plan, because Daisy is supposedly playing Lincoln of like, oh yeah, I'll totally be together with you. It'll just be us. I'll help get you out of there. While at the same time just basically luring him into a trap so that he can become one with the collective. And then, but hey, he's also simultaneously playing her of like, oh yeah, I totally want to get out of here. I just want to be with you. That's all that matters.
Poor
Yeah.
Daisy, she had the disadvantage of being drained from her blood.
Yeah, to
and
be
also
fair,
being brainwashed.
She
Yeah.
was probably super lightheaded between the brainwashing
She's
and
like,
the blood
oh,
loss.
okay, he's totally falling for this.
Like, but her brain was still there enough to like out hack Fitz and like
Yeah.
and like
That shows that Daisy working at like maybe what 40%
yeah,
capacity.
is still like the best hacker in the world.
I mean, it's also she has the advantage of having like designed the
Yeah.
system.
Systems,
yeah.
So like as much as Fitz is trying, he's like, this is a losing battle.
Yeah.
I know. I loved this plot line. I will say I sort of saw it coming.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Like 20 minutes in, I'm like, so he's playing her, right?
Yeah, just because like I have faith in the writers. Like that's the only reason.
I also
because I
have faith in Lincoln.
It was just like Lincoln's not this dumb. He's acted dumb before, but not this dumb. There's no way the writers would just be this lazy to
if
get
he-
him there.
If he had
Oh, yeah,
fallen
yeah.
for this ploy, then it would have been contrary to every bit of character development that he has.
Exactly.
And granted, he has been like kind of on a sliding scale.
Yeah.
But like it would have been a huge disservice to all of the growth that he has had if he just totally bought into it.
Yeah, but going in that route though, like if that happened, if you went in that direction,
Like,
that's
it'd still
when-
be believable.
That's what it would be
Yeah.
believable, but that's also when I'd start thinking like, okay, maybe he's the one that they're prepping to kill off the show. Like, I don't know. It could have gone. It could have gone that way. I mean, but I'm glad it didn't.
I still probably my favorite line of the entire episode was, "I said MacGyver, not Firestarter, idiot."
I like how he was getting his messages through the food trays that May was giving him.
Was it him or Lash who was getting the messages?
No,
was-
that
it
was
was Lincoln.
Lincoln?
because
Yeah.
he's the one that had to sneak all out.
Yeah, like
I-
the communication was just through the food trays.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's like May is writing things in peas, like just like let her hack
Or sending
things
him like
and-
little mommy notes from
Yeah.
the lunchboxes.
Or it's like she brings him like some like Kung Pao cow, and it's like in the fortune cookie.
Yeah. She uses food coloring on a sandwich.
His rolled napkin has like Sharpie writing inside.
Well, and not to mention the fact that they used looped footage in order for him to make his quote-unquote escape. Every time I see that in a show or a movie now, I'm like, Speed did it. I see they're speeding it up in here. I get it.
A movie that is incredibly old now. Sorry, everyone. We're all old. Speed is very old.
16-year-old children
We
out
just
there who
dated
haven't
ourselves.
watched
Yeah.
Speed yet. You guys should all do yourselves a favor and watch Speed because it is hilarious.
It's a great movie.
It's a
I
good
Keanu
like
movie.
Reeves, he's like the cat, right?
It stars famous grandma Sandra Bullock. And I don't know if she's a grandma. That's
yet.
unfair.
The bus that
She
couldn't
could
slow
be.
down.
So a
best
bus
movies.
is like an electronically driven car, like a Google car, but it's driven by a human.
Oh Lord, I'm feeling older by the second. Let's move on. So this all leads up to the thing that I'm sure every Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan has been theorizing, something we've talked about a lot, was Lash's destiny. And we have this confrontation between him and Hive. And there's this idea that he was meant to kill Hive. And for a while, it really did look like that was his purpose. He has the ability to extract these parasites and remove them from a person and destroy them. He has the power to do at least semi-lasting damage to Hive in a way that nobody else can, and a way to defend himself against the parasite attack. So that he can still stay cognizant of who he is. Did anybody else think that this felt really anticlimactic? Because
Yes.
I personally feel, I understand the intent, but I personally feel like Andrew, and granted we did say goodbye to Andrew a couple episodes ago, but I feel like given Andrew's history and given the build-up we've had to this moment, I feel like this was anticlimactic, and I know that that's kind of an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing to do, but I'm still a little like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah. So, Joyce,
No,
go ahead. You go first.
I felt that way, and for a second, part of me was like, "Oh my God, he killed Hive," and I think I even said out loud, like, that was kind of
that
not
was
very
quick.
eventful. I was like, "What was that?" Yeah, I felt the exact same way. I was underwhelmed by that whole encounter.
It was, I would have loved this as a first encounter between Lash and Hive, where it like, because Hive is so just like, I'm all good, like I got my alpha Inhumans, like I'm gonna wreck this world. And he doesn't see how anyone could possibly stop him because he thinks he's got Lincoln coming. He thinks like he's about to drain Daisy, and like he's on top of the world. And Lash shows up, and this should be like the beginning of his undoing. I would have loved it if Hive like was able to beat him back with the help of the alphas and with Hellfire there once he comes in. But I was this should have been the first battle between those two, and instead it was the only battle.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, it was, like, it felt like it would have been better if it was an entire episode dedicated to this kind of confrontation. And, like, I almost would have preferred if, like, the last shot of this episode was the door coming down and Lash
I thought it was. I was
Yeah.
like, this is an awesome out. And then I was like, 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I feel like that would have been
Like
such a...
either end of an episode or the end of Act 1, right?
Yeah, like that's how the episode ends, and then the next episode starts with fight 1 between these two, and you get like 3 big fights out of them.
Who knows?
before-
Maybe that could have been like the original plan.
Yeah,
and they
I-
maybe had to scrap that idea or just like change things around.
It
For
very
any
easily
number
could have
of
been.
reasons,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough, and again, it's such a shame that we'll never see Blair Underwood on this show again because he was
fantastic.
He was
Yeah.
fantastic.
And like even when he had fully turned into Lash, I was still like, there's got to be a way to like fix this.
I kept
right?
thinking there was some hope for him.
I saw something in I saw something in the chat that made me giggle.
I was gonna say I didn't think it was that naive of a hope.
No, sorry. Perspective said Lash didn't drop any rings when he was hit.
That's true. Not a single ring fell for him.
Oh man.
And it was also kind of the thing where it's like those alpha Inhumans were just created so that Lash could look powerful.
I was gonna say I laughed when they charged at him because really, come on, guys.
Well, not just created, but like they were the first round, and like we know that he has the ability to make a lot more.
Yeah.
But it was like here are your cannon fodder, and like look at Lash, look powerful, and then just get iced with a chain.
Well, let's
a fire chain.
Iced
with a fire chain.
Boo. Fire. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about these alpha Inhumans. But before we move on to that section of the plot, I want to talk to you guys really quickly about iTunes. What? It's iTunes time.
Okay.
It's iTunes time.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because guys, it is the highlight of my week when I get to see what you guys wrote. We absolutely love hearing from you guys, and it's the best way to let our producers know that you like the show that we're putting on, that you like talking Marvel with us. So it really does mean the world to us, and we know we have a huge international audience, which is something that still is really mind-boggling. So we love hearing from you guys on YouTube. We love getting screen caps of your guys' reviews from your respective iTunes stores. We really do appreciate it. And if you guys do leave us an iTunes review, we give you a little shout out on the show.
Heck yeah, we do. KS Deaton gets a shout out. Y'all are fabulous.
Aww.
Thanks for putting on a great after show. As much as I love discussing the show with my husband, it's nice to hear other folks talk about it too.
Aww.
The best hype man ever says, "Hello, Agent AfterBuzzers. To Phil Coulson's left hand, I think you are not getting enough love on this podcast." I don't know how that's possibly true. We couldn't love Phil Coulson's left hand anymore.
That is impossible.
I think you need a hype man. Perhaps the AfterBuzz crew could do a rap if they don't get to 600 in the next couple weeks about you.
Don't agree.
Ideas: Snap Yo Fingers by T-Pain. Snap Yo Fingers.
God.
Yes. Although Coulson can snap his fingers with his right hand. Too.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just. It's the clap that's difficult.
He can't do the
sound of
stanky
one-hand
leg
clapping.
though.
Nate Don't Hate says, best Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast out there. Booba76, you guys are by far my favorite AfterBuzz TV podcast I listen to. Thank you. Stephen Noel, I listen to you guys every time I get in the car. I really enjoy listening, and since I'm currently playing catch up with the AfterBuzz TV episodes, I listen to the predictions and find myself saying, nope. Nope. It's fun since I'm up to date. Keep up the good work. Love you guys. And then Blue Arrow says, I'm a big time fan of Marvel and a big time fan of you guys. This show is like the second half of every episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. I love you guys, and I hope you keep up the good work. Chloe Bennett has a new music video?
No, it's her old one. When she was a Chinese superstar.
I have not heard this, but I
You
know
should
what I'm
have-
doing
you need
after
to
this
watch the video.
is done.
Oh, goodness.
And then Phil Coulson's left
The
hand
moment we've all been waiting
says,
for.
Answer Time, Part 2. The last Answer Time went over so well, I thought, you know what? I should do that again next week. And then I forgot about it for months. But now, finally, here's the triumphant return of Answer Time. Answer: no, I'm not Deadpool. Just because I break the fourth wall doesn't mean I'm Deadpool. Seriously, why do people keep asking this one? Although that would be cool. Answer: yes, I somehow typed those reviews with only one hand. I don't see why this is mind-blowing to you people. I answered this last time, but I still get questions about it. Answer: no, I don't have a sponsor. I have sponsors. You know, I'm a hand and therefore don't have taste buds or a mouth, but I can still enjoy the refreshing taste of Coca-Cola at Subway. Eat fresh. While watching fantastic Netflix original series on the crisp screen of an all-new iPhone 6 Plus. Answer: what do I do all day while I'm stuck with the nerds? Think of what to write for these reviews. Also, dream of ways to exact revenge on Phil while simultaneously getting him back. I live a very boring life. Answer: no, I'm not happy about Harriet Tubman being put on the $20 bill. Why?
What?
That is my rightful spot. What did she do? Save hundreds of slaves on the Underground Railroad? Become an iconic abolitionist? That's nothing compared to what I've done. I mean, he did save a lot of people's lives technically by catching the and didn't let
severed.
and even more than we saw on the boat by not letting Jiaying run rampant.
You know,
so let's be
I
fair.
don't think we ever gave Coulson credit. I don't know if he's right-handed or left-handed, but if he's right-handed, he caught that Terrigen crystal with his left hand. Not an easy feat.
I think he's right-handed. If I can remember him etching the walls with the map.
Yeah, but Phil Coulson finishes left hand finishes up. Once I bended my pinky so far back it almost broke. Did Harriet Tubman do that? I think not. Well, tune in a couple months, probably next season, for the next Answer Time. Registered trademark.
Oh my
love that.
God! Who are you?
Can I just say to Phil Coulson's left hand, send us a message on Twitter, because I want you to send in your review for next week's finale before we tape so we can read it on the finale show. I'm just putting that out there.
To
Do
make
it.
sure,
Just
because
DM me.
Sometimes
We'll figure it out.
iTunes can be a little slow on the uptake when it comes to uploading comments. So yeah, please do that. And folks, thank you all so much. Again, we love hearing from all of you all around the world. It really does warm our hearts. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And
Ridiculous. All right.
What's the number of ratings that we're at?
We
dear
are
Zach?
at 578. 578 ratings. So you know what
We're
it
too
sounds
close.
like, guys. It
We're
sounds
too
like
close.
we're going to be singing
No.
next week. I've already got half a song written.
Snap.
Zach's been writing songs, guys.
It's true.
Do you guys hate your ears? Because I like mine.
So, guys, again, our goal is 600 before next week's episode. We're like, all joking aside, we really want to get to 600. And we really want to beat Scandal. One of my coworkers was asking me about AfterBuzz today, and she's like, "Can I ask about Scandal?" And I was like, "No, no, you cannot." She had no context for this rivalry either.
No hate to Scandal,
No
but we
hate
want
to
to beat
Scandal.
them.
Yeah.
No hate to Scandal
They're a
whatsoever.
great panel, but I want to destroy them.
By the way, guys, be sure to tune in next week because I got some cool stuff from the multiple times that I saw Civil War over the weekend, including some free digital comics that I would like to give away.
Basically,
Cool.
tune
Nice.
in next week. It's gonna be a good time.
It's gonna be a good show.
But let's bring it back
It's a
to this
two-parter
week's
next
episode.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this week,
Let's bring
though.
it back to this week. So let's wrap up this episode so we can finally start talking about Civil War. Okay, so we were talking about the Alpha Inhumans because we get the Watchdogs have a return, which on the one hand, I'm like, well, I'm glad that plot line came back around. On the other hand, I don't need to see a hate group again. But I think what they did with the Watchdogs this time around was a very interesting thing. I wasn't expecting them to look like the Silence. I was kind of expecting more of the pizza melty people.
Yeah.
But I think we can say it. Why is Hive's plan Magneto's plan from the first X-Men movie? Like, that's his plan, basically, is I'm going to turn the only difference is that Magneto wouldn't have been able to control other mutants.
Yeah, I think it's a completely different plan.
It is, literally,
But
what
in
happened
essence-
what happened to Senator Kelly, I can talk. What happened to Senator Kelly in the first X-Men movie is basically exactly the same. Magneto was trying to turn
But
everybody in
Magneto,
the world into mutants.
But that was
and
only because-
Senator Kelly melted like a pizza man.
but the reason why Magneto was trying to turn people into mutants
was to get rid of the prejudice.
was because they were a hated group, and he was doing that to be like, if everyone was a mutant, then there would be no hate. While Hive is, like they say in this episode, which I think was the clearest way to break down what Hive's motivations are, is Hive is a parasite. Hive's only goal is to infect as many as it possibly can.
Yeah.
And it can't infect regular humans. So its goal is to infect regular humans under the guise of peace and under the guise of, if I'm in control of everyone, then everyone is happy. Everyone's so much happier when I'm in control.
Yeah.
But that's only because it needs to infect. That is its only goal.
Maybe there is something to be said for, like, if he told... Because you'd think he would just, like, let everyone in the Hive Collective know his plan. Like, this is what we're doing. We're going to turn them into Inhumans so that I can expand.
Yeah.
Because they seem to be on board with whatever he tells them. Maybe there is something to, if you disagree enough, like, you can actually fight back.
I mean,
it would take, like, major... And it's not, like, in that sense, it's not about, like, love or, like... I'm so impassioned, but it's just like there's only so far that the pleasure center can
except
take over.
he had Redhead Ninja kill herself.
Well, here's the difference.
But like that, there's a difference between suicide and then like letting him blow up the world, like Daisy for one. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, and here's the difference between Magneto and Hive at this point was Magneto wanted to take away the prejudice because he had been the subject of prejudice his entire life. Hive wants to subjugate. That's the main difference. So it's same plan but different motivation. And that's why Hive is 100% okay with these alpha Inhumans because they serve that function. He doesn't need them to be perfect Inhumans. He doesn't need them to be fully cognizant human beings like his current Inhuman crew is. They obey him. They are enhanced in some ways, which makes them useful. And guess what? They're not going to give him any back talk like Daisy and Hellfire are doing on occasion.
Sure.
I'm just like, hey, we're just expressing our opinion. Like, cool dude whose club we're a part of and totally, like, drank the Kool-Aid for. He's like, I don't like your tone. I question your loyalty and things like that. These guys, he'll never get that from. They just seem to be subservient, well... pets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are more extensions of his of him than the others are sort of under his control. The alphas seem to be true extensions of Hive.
I thought it was so creepy when he told Daisy they were their children.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, he's
no.
holding your hand and he's like, there are
No.
children and we're going to make so much more by spilling all
God,
your blood,
I wonder how she
sweetheart.
feels about that now that she's not infected. Like,
They're
when she finds out.
They are literally their flesh and blood.
It's
Like it
disgusting.
is exactly
That is their children.
that is accurate. Like they're flesh and blood.
Poor Daisy, she had children against her will.
They're so creepy. As Ruby Moon puts it, they're like Deadpool had babies with the silence.
I was just thinking the silence. I wasn't thinking the Deadpool part, but she's
Hey,
right.
it works. It works.
Yeah, no,
Solid
Ruby Moon,
who drop,
100%.
Ruby.
100%.
Solid who
They looked like if Scabs had babies with flatworms. They're real gross. Also, we got the official nickname for Daisy, Swayze Daisy,
Swayze Daisy.
which I think is the worst one out of all the pitched ones.
But it was fun to say.
Yeah,
I like that it rhymes.
yeah.
Swayze Daisy. Although this whole thing, I still don't. Maybe it's just because Hive is impatient. But like the idea that you only have two sources of blood that can make these alpha Inhumans, and that's Daisy and Coulson. And he wants to completely drain her dry. Like, doesn't it make sense to keep her alive? Like,
Yeah.
what was that movie? Daybreaker style, where the vampires keep the humans alive, and you keep them alive for as long as you can. Why would he be like, yeah, we're going to drain all of your blood as soon as possible and make as many of these as we can? It's like, it makes a lot more sense to keep her alive. She will keep generating blood for you.
Not
Don't kill the
if-
golden goose.
Not if
But it's
he's
not
got
pre-blood.
he's got the bomb. Like that's gonna do everything he needs it to do.
And like I don't know how the biology of this works, but if Daisy starts creating that blood, if her body is making the blood, is that the Kree blood now, or is it Inhuman
Marvel
blood?
science.
I was also
I think the idea is it's in her like so deeply. It's like it
So it's a part
continues
of
to
her.
flow.
Yeah,
like
it's a part of
whatever cells there are that made up the Kree blood are now being regenerated as she pumps more blood into her system.
Well, that's not how
Well,
bodies work.
also,
How Kree bodies work, Jesse.
would he also be able to? Can he have two hosts?
We don't know.
So I wonder if like he killed her for whatever reason and was like, oh, mistake, and then he could possibly have her as a second host and revive her.
He
and
couldn't. He can't host
can't.
in an Inhuman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even if he killed her, he wouldn't be able to inhabit her body.
Okay.
He could kill Dr. Radcliffe and inhabit his body, but not
Yeah.
Daisy's. But yeah, that. It's just the whole thing.
Here's a question: Dark Bio Cloud, does he plan to start a war with the Kree?
We talked about this a little bit
Yeah.
last week.
I was under the
100%
impression that he would.
think. Well, his first priority is clearly getting the human population under his control, or at least getting a sizable portion of it under his control for him to be able to take the fight to the Kree.
Yeah, the Kree are a massive empire, so he needs to be.
Many subservient soldiers as he can possibly get.
And after seeing his just anger towards them in the last episode, like he blames them for what he's become, which is correct, but he has like this just deep hatred for them. I think he would want to go to war with the Kree for sure.
Yeah.
He definitely has retaliation in mind.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that's his plan, but it could just be that's, again, this is a creature who's lived for eons and eons. Step one is probably just getting control of Earth. And that's why I'm also confused as to why drain Daisy? You literally have all the time in the world. You are if you play your cards right, you are immortal.
He must be afraid that S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually going to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, like he's not. Like Hive is smart. Like he knows like he needs to move quickly because the longer he waits, the more likely it is that S.H.I.E.L.D's going to pull something off
And
as they did.
Sometimes we forget, but in this world, also Avengers exist.
Yeah.
So if he twiddles his thumbs for too long, theoretically the Avengers could come.
They drop
and
a
attack.
Thor on him.
They drop a Hulk on him.
I almost did a spoiler. I'll save it.
Watch out.
Again, we did give fair warning.
Yeah.
So
We've been good.
I feel like we've done a really good job, actually.
Oh,
I
yeah, we
thought it
haven't
was-
done any spoilers.
I thought it was interesting the kind of I would say like C theme of this show about faith and like
Beer.
determinism.
We can talk about Mac and Yo-Yo.
Well, it's not just Mac and Yo-Yo. Like they were just one part of the coin.
They were a
but
component of it,
but
yeah.
but also about how like they thought Lash was meant to kill Hive, but he was actually meant to save Daisy, and that's it's not 100% concrete. It's just people putting their beliefs on things that have happened.
It's finding meaning in the chaos that is life.
But it is something that is interesting where it's like they were trying to find a place for his mutation or his inhumantation and his pterogenesis and they found it, and then at the same time Yo-Yo and Mac are talking about faith and like not giving up, and whether or not that means just like just being dumb and just being like, yeah, sure, it's gonna be great, or whether there's a reason or a point to have faith. And I thought it was an interesting kind of way to push through this episode at the same time.
They did do that everywhere. I mean, even like May and Coulson had faith in Lincoln to carry on this plan that eventually got them to save the day or save the Daisy.
Yeah, although they spent their biggest
good at
card
this.
Yeah.
in Lash.
they did.
They expended their best chance of defeating Hive in order to rescue Daisy, which again, this is part of why I'm like, it was a little anticlimactic, not just because the fight didn't amount to the thing that we thought it would, but because I feel like Andrew deserved a bigger goodbye.
Yeah.
It was like his demise was kind of an afterthought for this episode.
Even when they showed May sort of mourning over his body, that scene
It's kinda
lasted
like-
for like 2 seconds.
It's like,
Yes.
move along. And I get it. It's time constraints.
It's the weird thing of like when one character becomes another, and we've had multiple versions of that like
Yeah.
this season. that like we said goodbye to him already, so it seems like it would be a waste of time
Like, why
to
should
do
we
it.
do it?
Why
again.
have another goodbye?
Yeah, we've said goodbye to the character that we know and love.
Yeah.
But
Was anyone else when he took down Lash where you're just like double tap? Just hit it in the head now. Just use your blue power and push it into that guy's head. Like, don't just leave him. You can look at Daisy in a second.
But
But that wasn't his goal. His end goal was to just get Daisy out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still just like, oh,
I
just
know, but yeah, that would have been
explode that head, man.
perfect.
I do want to touch on Mac and Yo-Yo a little bit because
Before we get to Civil War.
because we sort of only kind of touched on it the last time they were in an episode together, but they really do kind of seem to be pushing for that relationship a little bit. But poor Mac, he is like at his lowest low, and again, this is why it was really interesting that this is where the faith sort of theme is tying in, because he's lost faith in his ability to help people.
Yeah.
And he's just generally lost faith in like whether or not they can even that there's any part of Daisy left that they can save. And I really appreciated him and Elena's back and forth. And there was a really good line. Evil preys on the weak because it fears the strong. And I also think bringing her in was a good misdirect as well, because she really didn't do anything while she was here except for deliver exposition and then give Mac her necklace. So I feel like bringing her in not only was good for Mac's storyline, but was also like basically kind of served as misdirection, because it's like, oh, here's Yo-Yo. We know Yo-Yo's necklace is going to get incorporated into the ending somehow. But then she passes it off to Mac, so it's like, is this another misdirect?
Oh, I hate this
Where
because
are we
we've
going
been
with this?
We've been getting like fake teased with like Mac potentially dying, because last episode I thought I was gonna see him die, and then like having the necklace handed over to him, I was like, okay, so this is kind of like they are gonna go with this route, and then we started thinking otherwise.
They're just messing.
teasing
I know,
us,
they're just
messing with
because
us.
They did. It's so intentional of just like,
Yeah.
we're gonna pass this necklace to everybody.
And
so
even
that
today, when Lash died, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe their idea of someone on the team dying is Andrew. You know,
Oh,
like
that'd be such a
he's just
cop-out.
done.
no,
Such a cop-out.
they're
I was
very.
hoping that was it.
They've been
It's
very
fine.
public, like at least like with the promotions and
promos.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
somebody we know is
Yeah.
gonna die.
And I mean, even in the preview for the next episode, they show Fitz holding the necklace. So
Which
it's
I
like,
feel is also another
yeah,
misdirect.
it is
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
kind of.
This is why I still think it's going to be Simmons. That's
Yeah, Griffin. Red herring.
Yeah.
just red herring.
It's all.
red
It's
herring.
everyone's getting red herrings.
Yeah.
So yeah, although red herrings aside and misdirects aside, I really do like that ship, and
Yeah, me too.
I'd totally be on board with it
Plus,
next season.
I'm all
That's
for
all I'm saying.
hearing Max speak Spanish more. Like
Yeah.
that
It's
was
great.
really,
It's great.
really nice. Just saying.
You might say that Yo-Yo picked up English very fast.
I wouldn't say that. I would say quickly.
I don't know where to take the conversation from there. Moving on.
Are we? I just had other stuff.
We should probably go ahead and just move on into predictions, since we're talking about it anyway.
Last thing, just from this episode,
Of course.
Now, your
Hellfire, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the chain.
That was really.
That was a
really cool.
comic book on screen. Like, that's exactly. If you look up Hellfire in the comic books, he's got that
That's the
fire
image
chain.
that'll pop up.
Yeah.
It's just like that's his weapon of choice,
Yeah.
and like to see it for real,
For real.
it's just like, well,
on the screen.
yeah.
No,
it's
we
just-
saw it in real life.
TV is real, Megan. Don't take this away from me.
So to see it for real, it was
No,
great.
it just like it was so well done. It was
Yeah.
so perfect. Everything about this character since they like brought him in.
it's been
has been
spot on.
Yeah, it's just,
I'm enjoying his character as much as he irks me and like drives me nuts.
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
he's so
he was.
Fun
I'm pretty
to
sure he had
watch.
2 beers in one
to
hand.
get to know. He did.
At
he
one
did.
point.
Well, and not to mention that when like Lash is attacking all of the Alpha Inhumans, he is literally on a beer run.
Yeah.
He's like, all right,
I'm just picturing him coming in with like a box of like leftover hot wings and like a 6-pack and being like, okay guys, what did I
turns right around and goes and eats those wings alone.
It's like I just picture him walking in like the Troy gif from Community with just everything on fire. He's just like, what? What did I miss?
Good work, Russos.
Yeah. All right, spoilers. And then Civil War.
Okay,
That's
okay.
Civil
Let's
War.
you mean
Predictions.
predictions.
What did I say?
Spoilers.
I'm too excited, you guys. I'm too
Okay,
excited.
let's go ahead and dive into predictions. As we mentioned last episode, they've been really hammering home that somebody is going to die. It's probably going to be a member of the original team. Hive is still alive, and the only way to stop his because he has access to a warhead that he stole from the ATCU in Indiana, so chances are we're going to have to go into space to stop this warhead.
Yeah, which
Who's going to go?
it made me believe, like I told you guys this after we watched the episode, that it's Fitz because, I mean, he's the engineer of the group, and like him going into space to hopefully stop this warhead somehow, like, you know, that would be a perfect setup for him to go.
Yeah, I mean, my stance, like, I still think it's Fitz or Simmons. The preview showing Fitz holding it makes me less sure that it's Fitz.
Yeah.
Which makes
Yeah.
me really scared for Simmons because it just, like, it feels like it has to be one of
Simmons
them.
is already dead. She's been dead for 4
No,
episodes.
no, stop it, Jesse. That's no.
Stop it! No,
It makes their whole hand holding in this thing so creepy.
Stop it!
No
you
way.
Stop it!
Maybe whoever dies isn't in space. Something happens in space where they like
Sure.
pass
Now
out.
that would be
Something
a
could
crazy
happen.
misdirect.
I was
Down
thinking
on
that as
Earth,
well.
so Simmons could probably be helping remotely from Earth, and she might die down there. And someone up in space just went through something traumatic that made him pass out, and they're floating in the.
I think it
Blinders
Jordy.
on.
I think it might be May. We kind of closed.
Yeah.
We kind of closed her storyline. Andrew has been taken care of, and May's entire job on this team is that she's kind of she's the cavalry.
She'll go in and make the hard decision when no one else will.
And now you've got Daisy, who's more stronger than she is, and is
She can't go.
and is getting as good at martial arts as she
Yeah.
is. You've got
Yeah.
Lincoln, who can electrocute things. You've got all these kind of, and if you're integrating Yo-Yo and like a Secret Warriors thing, like that job isn't really needed anymore.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
May.
And I don't want to be right though.
No.
No,
That's the thing.
May
When
is-
we're making these predictions,
Yeah,
we don't
We're
want
not
to be
happy
right.
about any of them
No matter
dying.
how you spin this or who you're gonna predict is gonna die, who's gonna die, it's gonna suck.
It's not.
We're all gonna be crying next week, guys.
It's true.
It's not like Hitler is on the S.H.I.E.L.D. team, and we're like, I think Hitler's gonna die. Fingers crossed. Like this.
I personally think it's I'm still maintaining my theory that it's Simmons, specifically because it was her trip to outer space that brought Hive here. So in her mind, Hive is her responsibility. Not only, I mean, she got to shoot Ward, but that's not the same. I mean, and this thing killed Will. It is her, in her mind, I'm sure it's her responsibility to take care of this thing. Because it followed her back to Earth.
Hasn't she's been told millions of times that this is not her fault.
Of
Yeah,
course,
but-
of course. But that doesn't...
That doesn't mean
No,
she
I know. It
accepts
doesn't
yeah.
mean that she doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's an interesting.
Yeah, and that's just a thought. We haven't been focusing a whole lot on Simmons for the last 2 episodes, so it could be that maybe that whole responsibility thing is a moot point, just because there's no time for it. But that's my thought on the situation. Anyway, does that cover it for predictions?
I don't have anything else.
I mean, the
don't have
biggest
anything.
thing that we have to predict is the death. I mean,
Yeah.
it's coming. So
I think just very briefly, I think this is the first time Hive has ever felt scared.
yeah.
I think
And,
this is
like-
what pain feels like.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I feel like Hive is going to make a lot of mistakes and like
Yeah.
really get
Oh,
aggressive.
It's a good point.
one thing. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I think Hive might have a mole in the ATCU. Based on one line when he's talking to the Watchdogs, he goes, "I'm the one who invited you, but as you can see, I'm not with the ATCU."
Well, and
also
he
the
was able to
Watchdogs-
steal this from
The Watchdogs said that they got the information from the ATCU
Yeah.
about Hellfire, which makes me think Daisy hacked into the ATCU and like leaked it to them.
All right, that makes
Fair
sense.
enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair enough.
Or Talbot's with Hive.
No,
my
or Talbot's
God.
bodyguard.
Or Talbot's bodyguard.
Or Talbot's body. Although that was experimentation. Anyway,
Crushel Crew.
Yeah, Crusher Grill's not
Neither-
an Inhuman.
neither here nor there. Which, by the way, did we ever get like a payoff on that cure they were making? No. Based
didn't.
based on his blood, like we never got a payoff for that. Maybe next season. Maybe the finale.
Huh.
Anyway,
Don't cure Hive, though.
don't
Please.
cure Hive. But yeah, it's time, guys. We said it at the top of the show. We're gonna say it again. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
It's-
James in the booth, hit that spoiler alert button for us.
Spoiler alert.
You've been
Spoiler
warned.
We're gonna talk Civil War now, guys.
We're gonna talk.
Spoiler alert.
Civil
It's Cap v
War.
Iron Man.
We did good during the show recap, but
It's-
we are not going to do
did.
good.
It's all
here.
I've thought about forever.
I was so disappointed that I couldn't go see it a second time
Yeah.
this weekend. I
I-
tried.
How
I
many
tried
times
so
have you seen
hard.
it?
I
Zach?
saw it twice. I'm gonna see it again, I think, tomorrow.
I'm at 3
I have not
times.
seen it at all, and I'm probably going to hear everything about
No!
James!
Get out.
Switch? Can you
just,
switch with
just
somebody?
put it on the master, come back and check on us in 5 minutes. We do not want to ruin this for you. Just put it on the master. It'll be fine.
No.
So
Someone call for help.
someone call for help, or just mute us on your end.
Yeah.
I think you can do that. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this. All in all, I think it's fair to say we all very much enjoyed the film.
So good.
I
So good.
love the movie. I literally, like, I wasn't joking. I went home and lied down afterwards and like was just lying there running through the whole movie and just like I loved it from start to finish. It's not perfect as a movie, but it is a fan's just dream
Yeah,
come
And
true.
here's the thing about it. It's not a good standalone film. It
No.
is very much entrenched in the context of the MCU. And if you're not caught up or if you missed Winter Soldier,
It won't
you're
make
gonna be
sense.
lost.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you didn't see Winter Soldier, like that, most importantly, because you don't have to see Ant-Man in order to enjoy it, but like Winter Soldier, a lot of the themes about Winter Soldier get carried over, and just like knowing
Or
who
if
he
you haven't
is.
seen Age of Ultron,
This is
you'll
the
be
third in
confused
a
as well.
trilogy, but I mean, this is such it is a Marvel film because it is the third in a Captain America trilogy. It is also truly Avengers 2.5.
Yeah.
Because it beyond just the fact that it brings in these other characters, it builds off of storylines and emotional arcs that started with Avengers, went into Age of Ultron, and now sort of finished
It
here.
was
Yeah.
it was a better Avengers movie in my opinion than Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I'm in awe still that the cast was so big, and everyone got to eat their cake. Everyone was treated well, and it didn't feel like it was stilted. It didn't feel like it was like poorly paced. Like even though the cast was so big, like it never felt like there were pacing issues or that like it was like, oh, we have to feed all of these mouths at all the like
Yeah.
all the time. Like everyone got their moment, and it never felt like it was taking away from the movie.
It was very
Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah.
They knew how to do that, and they did it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me personally, I didn't think any of it felt forced. I feel like even the stuff that was a surprise to the production team, like, oh, we have Spider-Man now.
Yeah.
I feel like for the most part, they integrated it really well.
Yeah.
It's the best on-screen Spider-Man we've ever seen.
By far. I mean, like,
Spider-Man.
I thought Spider-Man 2 was an amazing movie, and even though it was 70-year-old Tobey Maguire playing him, but
Train fight, though. Dead train fight, though.
but this is the Spider-Man that we all deserve to have. Like he's the closest to age
He's
of
actually
Spider-Man.
a teenager.
yeah, they actually
Yes.
hired a teenager. He was
Yeah.
15 when they cast
sweet.
him.
He was
He's
just
adorable.
so sweet. I
He's
love when he's like,
precious.
I don't,
He's funny.
Spider-Man?
He's funny. He's giving quips back and forth.
Yeah.
So far, the other Spider-Mans, Tobey Maguire was not funny at all, and Andrew Garfield was okay, but like
The-
not.
Like the difference, the balance was I thought Tobey Maguire played a good Peter Parker, ignoring like age and everything.
Sure.
But like he played a good Peter Parker. His Spider-Man was lacking.
Yeah.
Whereas in Amazing Spider-Man, I thought we got like a
Great
good
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man with like
but
the quips
Peter
as he's
Parker.
like Because like you think a knife is gonna that was all that felt like Spidey.
Yeah.
But like his Peter Parker was like, wait, you're a skater?
So,
I don't know
so
if
this
is
was the perfect
You're the most
combination.
attractive guy in your high school. How is everyone surprised you're dating Emma Stone?
No,
But
this
this-
was a perfect combination of awkward teenager
Yeah.
and smart mouth, awesome,
Nerd, like-
badass.
I love it.
superhero.
And
He
you
was-
saw the transformation
Yeah.
from like when we met him in the apartment
In Queens?
Queens.
Those are funny.
When we were watching it, Queens came on the screen and the audience went crazy.
Yeah.
I did for my YouTube channel today. I just released my top 5 moments for
Go
the movie,
check it out if
and
you haven't watched it
Queens
yet.
got number 4 because like how much the audience just lost it
Yeah.
when that came on screen.
They knew what was coming.
But like from that scene in Queens, like where he's this nervous kind of like, oh no, please don't tell my aunt.
Yeah.
It's like he's like uncomfortable, he's like nerding out. To him in costume in the airport sequence is just like a huge transformation
Yeah.
where he's like, oh dude, you have a metal arm? That is so cool.
I love that they integrate, like had him integrate so well with the team, like quickly, like he fit right into me. But then they brought you back with his, like, still his insecurity, where he's like, "What do you want me to do? Like, what do we do, boss?" It's like just
I just
go
got
with the
here.
plan, and he's like,
It's
"Oh
my
yeah,
first day.
yeah."
Guys, Black Panther was in this movie. It took my entire body not to scream for 3 hours while watching
Black
that
Panther
movie.
Chadwick
was
Boseman.
beautiful.
Chadwick Boseman is what we've been needing this entire time.
He landed it so well in that set. Like he had this presence where he did feel very kingly.
Yeah, he was a
Very
king.
dignified.
The accent landed perfectly. Like whoever's like his vocal coach was just
Yeah.
like worked with him, and they nailed it where it didn't feel like he was doing like a caricature of African accents or anything like that.
Which is a very difficult line to cross when you're making up a culture. Like, it could have easily turned into stereotyping or cultural
Like,
appropriation.
people
and I
could
don't
have been
feel like
offended. It wasn't
Yeah.
offensive.
Well,
And he was a straight up badass.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, he was.
The chasing him fighting Winter Soldier. Like in general, like we'll just say the Russos made the right choice with getting the John Wick choreographer to do all the fighting, because every fight felt like it meant something.
Oh, God,
and
every punch hurt me.
Every punch hurt. And every
Which is
fight had its own storyline playing
Yeah.
throughout. Like you were watching a story within the story of the fights. And unlike other crossover fighting superhero movies, like the stakes were there. You felt real stakes. You felt like someone could legitimately get hurt or die.
Yeah.
And like in that moment where Rhodey gets shot by Vision's beam, the audience went silent. And
it's like, this isn't fun anymore.
it's not
Yeah.
like we just got to see Giant Man, and now
Sorry.
and now we've got like this, like, oh, that's right, there are real stakes happening.
Yeah.
This is a real thing.
And they also did
Yeah.
a great job with showing, like, friends. Like, these are people who love each other and care about each other. They don't want to kill each other, but they each have these really strong beliefs that just causes them to fight. But you can see and feel the pain with each and every hit they take on each other.
And it was amazing the way, especially the airport sequence, which is
so
just
good.
like the best. Like, I don't even know how long it is because I'm just like
was
mesmerized
great.
as I watch it. But like,
I
however
feel
long
like-
it is the best that many minutes of comic book television or film or anything that I've ever seen.
So
good.
Because and the reason is because of the way that they fight, where it doesn't feel like you're just like making them hurt each other because like, oh well, they have to fight.
There's depth to all of it.
Every move that they make, the way that they fight is well thought out and it's planned. Like when the teams like line up and they're getting ready to go at each other, like it's not just, oh, we have to fight each other because this is a fight. It's no, there is a goal. We are trying to get these two people onto that Quinjet, because if we don't, like, we're not gonna, that's the goal. We need to get them out of here. And these people are determined to stop that from happening. So it's not that they want to hurt each other. They don't want to kill each other.
It's
because
way more
these characters
complicated than
wouldn't.
that.
Their motivations are spot on.
Now that I think about it, why didn't they just destroy the Quinjet? I know they tried to block the entrance a couple times, but I feel like they could have just destroyed the Quinjet, and then that whole thing would have been a moot point.
Megan, don't ruin this.
It's also the best Black Widow we've ever seen in the
That was
movies as
cool.
well.
She pulled something I didn't expect.
She did a great. She was a great cipher for the audience, where this version of the Registration Act and the Sokovia Awards, not awards, accords. And
Hashtag Sokovia Awards.
And the winner for most rubble dropped on them goes to Baron Zemo's family.
What would the award look like?
It would just be a
Giant book?
No, just be a big middle finger made out of rubble. But like, because this version of the Sokovia Accords and the Registration Act, it's not a clear good guy and bad guy. Both sides, I think, have legit, because in the comic books, it's pretty clear from the beginning, Tony is the bad guy and Cap is the good guy.
Yeah.
And this is not as clear, and I think having Black Widow be that cipher where she cares about, she really cares about Cap and really wants to make sure that Cap is taken care of, and at the same time believes in what Tony believes in, and is surprised herself that she's on his side.
The Russos came out and said, I read one quote where they were saying, like, you shouldn't be on either side.
Yeah.
Both of these people are wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and the main thing about, I mean, we can make all the jokes we want about being Team Cap or Team Iron Man, but the main thing that I really appreciated about this movie, because it was something I was anticipating, granted I was kind of hiding from a lot of the promos and trailers and stuff, but I kept expecting a big OMG reveal like we got in Winter Soldier. That all of a sudden, like, some big shadowy organization would emerge from the shadows, and they would have been the big bad of this movie.
Yeah.
And that's not what happened. Everything that happened in this movie was because it was personal. It was personal to all of the Avengers. It was personal for Cap. It was personal for Bucky. It was personal for Iron Man, who got told he was a murderer at the very beginning of the film, and it was personal for our villain. This was just a guy who had lost everything, who just, as he put it, had experience and was determined. And those are the only two things he needed. And he was able to get essentially the world's most powerful group of people to tear each other apart.
And I could make the argument, and I feel like it might be true, but at least personally for me, I think Baron Zemo is the best MCU villain that we've gotten. Because he's not just the opposite of the hero, which is what Marvel's kind of thing has been. And he's been, number one, he was really brutal, like actually villainous and scary and really capable, and he won. Like,
and he didn't need a bunch of henchmen. He did it all himself.
The fact that he won, with the exception of Loki and Thor 2, makes it like, basically it's like him and Loki, I think, would be like your top two Marvel, like, and that I would have to like spend some time actually thinking about. But you're right, like Zemo, because like and I was nervous when I heard about Zemo being in this movie. Like,
you thought it'd be a guy with a purple mask and a chair and a sword.
Not even that, although that would. I was worried because Civil War for me was not supposed to have a villain.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be about, like, that's the thing that
just
like maybe some
teams.
other superpower people fighting each other movies got wrong, is that it's not supposed to be about if they're out there, I don't know, but like it's not supposed to be about an outside villain controlling it. It's supposed to be about ideologies coming up against each other, because that's the only reason when our good guys would fight each other.
Yes.
And this manipulation behind the scenes to just get them to that point,
But
basically.
his ideology or his ideal is to not have them at all.
Yeah, and but the thing is, even the idea of not having them has justification to it.
For sure.
That's one of the, like, that's something that I struggled with after watching this movie. It's like, I get everyone's point of view. Like, we've touched upon this already in this conversation, but like, everyone that we watched on that screen, I was like, I get it. And it was hard for me to be like,
justifiable in their actions in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or
I
form.
mean,
Yeah.
seeing Zemo listen to the voice recording on his phone, you're like, oh, this is his dead family he's listening to.
and that's what they did. They played on my emotions. They played on
Yeah.
the audience's emotions so well. Like, especially that scene where Falcon shot down, oh my gosh,
War Machine?
War Machine.
But
Well,
that was the
Vision- it was-
Vision,
it was
but
Vision.
he was aiming towards Falcon.
Falcon,
And
yeah.
they both Iron Man and Falcon tried to
shit,
And
save
that
it
was-
was Vision.
And that was
But-
perfect because Falcon didn't even hesitate. He said, "My friend is falling," and instantly went into a dive.
But also seeing War Machine shut his eyes because he just accepted that he was gonna hit the ground. Like the way they played on my emotions in that moment, I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit. Sorry.
Well, he
But
closed his
it's
eyes.
okay.
He
He's okay.
passed out.
Yeah.
I thought he was accepting his fate.
Well, again,
if
there's
whatever
nothing.
happens,
Even if he didn't
happens.
pass out, there was nothing he could have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And-
his systems were shot.
And also, it was
Yeah.
a brilliant way to set up that final fight when Iron Man is in, Beast is the Hulk and is just angry because they killed his mom.
Which
is such a brilliant...
Justifiable.
But also such a brilliant turn. Such a brilliant, because it's like, okay, we've seen Iron Man fight Cap, and we've seen them fight now 3 times really in this movie. Do we really need to see it again? It's like, now this is a fight that isn't about
They're
ideologies.
different fights each time.
It's every time it's a different fight. And having War Machine get shot down sets up that if you take out the power core, you stop a man in armor. And so having that tension where it's seeing Bucky go after it and get his arm blown off, and then see Cap deliver the final blow into it, that gave that tension to that scene that was an hour later. It was
Yeah.
it was it was so well edited and paced. You could tell that every moment was thought about meticulously, and that is super satisfying as a fan of movies, but also as a fan of the comic books and the Marvel universe.
There's so much good about this. There's so much craft in how they built it. There's a few parts where I thought that it was lacking. I thought the end was a little it just sort of petered out at the end for me.
It went
Not
out
that it
with a
was
whimper, not a
bad.
bang.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't that it was bad by any means, but I was expecting something big and climactic to finish it. And not that I know what it should have done or needed. It just it didn't because I think this is where they had to, they know it's going forward because it's a comic book. They know we're going forward, so it has to have it has to be built for the next thing.
Which is again part of both the strength and the weakness of a film like this. That it can't stand on its own.
The other part of it is that I think Cap didn't
have an arc.
at all.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, he
He didn't learn anything.
He was the same
Yeah.
from the beginning.
And
I mean, granted, you can appreciate him for sticking to his guns, but in the comic Civil War, he learned that beating Tony to a pulp was not the best, and causing this war. Ultimately, what did that amount to when he turned himself
his
in?
main change is that he by the end he dropped being he basically just stopped being Captain America.
resigned.
Yeah.
He goes nomad.
Which
Next
and
time
then
we see
gets
him.
shot by Sharon Carter.
there's which he made out with her, which is so weird.
Oh, yeah.
because
Oh, that
it's
was
Peggy's
so
niece.
strange.
It's and the other thing is this was a great movie, but man, did it hit me so much harder than I thought it would when Peggy Carter died, and seeing Howard Stark get bashed in the head by the Winter Soldier.
Ooh,
That hurt.
that was brutal.
Hurt so much, especially because for anybody who's a fan of the Agent Carter show, it felt like a literal nail in the coffin because there's a lot of speculation as to whether or not that show is coming back, and it just hurt my heart. And
Yeah.
How about when Cap threw the shield into Iron Man's?
When it was
the
just
core,
sticking
it was
out.
just sticking there. I was like, oh, he's done. But I love how Stark responded at the end, where he was like, "You don't deserve that shield."
No,
but it was.
Father
but it-
made that
and
shield.
he
Yeah.
left it behind. So,
Laser
guys,
shield coming up next.
we are running short on time. I want to go around the table. favorite moment from the film, or any other closing
We
thoughts
didn't
you
even
guys
talk about Giant Man.
I know.
Didn't even talk about
mean-
Giant Man, but it's so good.
I mean, just pleasantly surprised that Paul Rudd, like, after watching
Captain America.
after watching Ant-Man, I was like, this is a great movie. I don't see Paul Rudd interacting with the rest of the cast.
Here's your shield, Captain.
I mean, look, everyone like Ant-Man, Giant Man, like Ant-Man and the Wasp are like as a duo some of my favorite characters in Marvel, because like for me it's like I love the couple dynamic of the original Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym, and like just the like all the thing like the scientist aspect to Ant-Man and like what he can do, and it's just like there's so
Basically,
much fun
Fitz
that you
and
can
Simmons
have
if they were
Yeah.
superheroes.
with but you can also just have so much fun with those. That set of powers is so interesting. And so seeing Giant Man on the big screen was just
That was
this
great.
just moment that was like for me
So cool.
perfect. And the way they did it, like the fact that like he grew, the fact that like they slowed him down, that it was just him swinging, that like that was his power limitation. Because like when you make somebody huge, like that's a big
You're
power.
literally stretching
yeah.
him thin.
And I love Tony. Does anybody else have any fantastical powers that
Any shocking,
unbeknownst to us?
surprising powers. Now's a good time to use them.
And just like when he fights Spidey, like, and Spidey's like, he's like, get off of me, like swatting away.
Crawling across.
Has
his-
anybody seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
Oh yeah. It's like what? Kids too young to understand what that
And
is.
just a interesting, the writers actually resisted. I read McFeely was saying the writers actually they didn't want that Star Wars joke in there. It was the Russos that
It's all-
wanted it.
it's all Disney now.
Well, what they said it was that they get really uneasy about references.
Yeah.
But like
Fair
one,
enough.
it's like it's Spidey. Like Spidey makes pop culture references.
But it was also like the anti-reference joke where it was like they were saying like a lot of kids might not know what the
Yeah.
Empire Strikes
Yeah.
Back is. So like that's a joke where like, you know,
We were making
mothers
that
and
joke
daughters and
earlier.
fathers and sons
I
are
could've-
going to be like are going to get angry at each other because like they could be like, what is Empire Strikes Back? And it's like we're going home after this movie and we're
just so
watching
insane.
another 3 movies.
I could imagine parents would introduce their kids to these movies before episode 7, which they definitely took them to see. Because
Yeah.
I saw a ton of little kids who I know didn't see those movies possibly prior to 7.
Yeah.
So
Who like dressing up as Rey and
Yeah.
Finn and Poe are their first intro to Star Wars. But anyway,
But-
we could go off on Star Wars tangent all we
like
want
so
to get
just
back
like
to.
bringing it in was like it was a perfect, like all of it was a great Giant Man moment. It was the perfect Spidey moment, and though like Spidey's one of my favorite characters too. Like you're talking about like 2 out of my top favorite characters just like fighting each
Talking
other,
about Star
and
Wars.
this-
talking about Star Wars.
And this movie had so much to accomplish, not only with its plot, not only with its personal character dynamics, but also in introducing Black Panther and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
All in all, it might
And
not be perfect,
I-
but it's
I will
And
say-
introducing Ant-Man.
nonetheless.
A lot of people didn't see Ant-Man, and so I think a lot of people are going to see this movie and then
go back to
and
Ant-Man,
see
yeah.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, we are already 6 minutes over our time. Round the table, favorite moment. Let's go. Start with Joyce.
Yeah.
I can't just pick one. I mean, a lot of them were so emotionally hitting. But now that we're talking about, you know, that scene with, well, it wasn't with Giant Man, but it's when Ant-Man was really tiny and he went inside of Iron Man's armor, and Iron Man's like, "Who's that? Whose voice is
your
that?" He's like,
conscience.
It's your conscience. We haven't spoken in a long time. The little pockets of the humor, like, was so good. Like, they were just perfect. So
Yeah.
I guess moments like that just really got to me.
All the time I spent talking about Giant Man was me talking about my favorite scene. But like just another moment that like I thought was brilliant that I didn't get to include in my video, because you can go watch that for my favorite moment.
Go do that.
Guys, watch his videos.
I'm not just plugging away. But was when Cap and Sharon finally kissed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
it's just Bucky and Sam in the car. Yeah.
Or when Sam was like, "Could you move up your seat?"
Yeah.
He was like, "No."
Because like these are Cap's two best buddies.
Yeah,
Like,
Winter Soldier and Falcon just.
I just want to see the college years of Cap, Winter Soldier, and the Falcon.
I want to see a movie
did he go
that's
through college
just
years?
Cap, Sam, and Buck in a road trip in the buggy. Road trip across Europe in a buggy.
Do you guys? I imagine it be kind of like the intros to Key and Peele sketches where they're sitting in the car and there's like the desert green screen and they're just talking about moments.
For me, I think we hit on it, but like the regality and like the way they pulled off Black Panther for me is my favorite kind of thing about this movie. It's really like it's a difficult property to introduce because number one, Black Panther has some cultural relevance to the world outside, and also introducing a made-up African country that its main export is a made-up metal. But like bringing in T'Chaka, who I was so excited to see in the real thing, and like making Black Panther feel like he belonged in the real world, and then was an amazing, like his fights were the best fights, and like seeing that he could go toe to toe with a super soldier, like all that was my favorite thing. For sure.
Not to mention the Black Panther statue. At
Yeah.
the
yeah.
mid-credits.
Also, the Black Panther suit just looked amazing.
Oh my
So
gosh.
cool.
I will be honest, you know, obviously the default answer is just going to be the airport fight, but honestly my favorite thing was just seeing it on opening night with all of you and with Emma. It was, seeing
that
it
was
like
fun.
in a full theater at El Capitan. That was just a very special.
Oh yeah,
special
did
thing.
we
was
have
really
those
fun.
photos? If not, I'll tweet them out again later.
Yeah,
But normally
I
I'm not
sent
a
them in
huge-
earlier, but
I
we've
don't-
been talking for.
I'm sorry.
we will need to wrap it up. Go ahead,
Okay.
Joyce.
I was gonna say I normally don't like watching movies opening night, especially movies like this, because I like to sit, you know, when it's quiet and people are cheering. But it was a different experience this time, and it was like really fun, and
It was great.
it added to my watching experience.
Yeah. All in all, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that Spider-Man, I was won over. I was skeptical, but this movie won me over. I'm so happy.
The title Spider-Man Homecoming is weird, but I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in for it.
Oh yeah, the end credits.
I'm in
Yeah.
whether I like it or not, but I am in at this point. I think I'm gonna like it. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to us blather on
my
about how
gosh.
much we love this movie and about how much we love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Joyce, where can people go if they want to find you?
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around this long. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Joyce Ajouri. I've got some cool behind-the-scenes snaps of us here, so check those out, and I'll see you next week.
You guys can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all the places. That's Zach Wilson. For more of me talking about Civil War this week, you can find not just on YouTube, but also Thursday on Marvel Movie News. The voice of Doom has a lot to say. And then later on Friday on our sister network, the Popcorn Talks. Anatomy of a movie. We're gonna get into all the aspects from pre-production through production, casting, everything into post-production, box office, all of that on Anatomy of a Movie. 2 hours of breaking down Civil War.
Dang.
My superhuman registry name is @JessKlein1. That's where you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, doing live comedy all over the Los Angeles area. Also, if you live in Austin, my team DJ Fawcett will be doing Austin Sketch Fest. So come on out and see that.
Fun.
I'll see you guys later.
That sounds fun. That
Yeah,
sounds
it's gonna be
awesome.
fun.
Well, guys, I'm Megan. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram @TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I write articles for the Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. Thank you to everybody who stayed up to this crazy late hour to listen to us talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and about, of course, Captain America's Civil War. Send us your thoughts. We want to know what you heard, what you thought about the movie. Thank you guys so much. We will see you all next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.